Hello everyone, back at it again with another video. Today we're going to be talking about rigging topwater baits, specifically the Arashi Cover Pop. It comes with okay hardware out of the box or package. Those are size 2 VMC trebles. The split rings are soft enough that I can manipulate them with my fingers and fingertips and just pop that hook off. That's not ideal. You don't want the split rings so soft that they're easy to manipulate just with your fingers. Here's a brand new one out of the package, or will be out of the package in a second. That color is called green gill. The other color is called bluegill. And to me, those are the only colors I want in this popper. It's kind of a bigger popper. It's big enough to take size 2 hooks to give you some idea of the scale here. It's a taller popper, fuller body, it's loud. To me, it imitates bluegill really well, and so those 2 bluegill colors are the ones that I want. Now the hooks that it comes with are okay. You can fish this bait right out of the package and do okay. But I'd rather put on some Owner ST36 trebles. The other thing is that the VMC hooks that it comes with are short shank, and I'd like a regular shank on there. I thought about keeping those split rings on for for a minute, but I later decided I'd have to replace those because they're just so soft. So those split rings aren't going to stick around very long, but just for now we're going to keep them on the bait. Next, we need 2 Owner ST36 size 2, and since I have them, I'm going to put a red treble on the belly, just to give the fish something to aim for. You don't really need red trebles, but since I had them, I thought, what the heck, I'll put a red treble on the belly. And then 2 black nickel Owner ST36 hooks for the rear, and we're going to dress those trebles ourselves. You can buy dressed trebles, they're just really expensive for what they are. Or you can do it yourself. It's easy to do it yourself, and then you can put whatever color you want, whatever materials you want, whatever length you want. So I never buy dressed trebles, I always do it myself. And an easy way to do it is with a little piece of surgical tubing. Slip it over the eye of that treble, and I'm just checking to make sure the surgical tubing's the right size. You can get surgical tubing or clear tygon tubing from the hardware store. Where I mostly get it is with trailer hooks. They usually come with some kind of tubing. Aquarium tubing could work too. You want something fairly sturdy though. The little section I had was a little bit long, so I'm just cutting it in half. And I'll get 2 dressed trebles out of that one little tiny piece. Around me, the bluegill have lighter tails. Some of them are like turquoise or teal colored or aquamarine. Some look chartreuse in the water. And sometimes in stained water, I even see some with like an orangey tail. That could be an optical illusion because of the stained water. But anyway, I've got some Chartreuse crystal flash. You just make a little bundle, slide it through the eye. With a size 2 hook, that eye is plenty big to slide a little bundle of crystal flash through. And you could put in a few strands of red. You could mix it with some pearl crystal flash. And I'm just going to slide that surgical tubing or tygon tubing right over that eye there until it's about halfway on. At this stage, I'm going to shuffle some of that crystal flash around, try to move it evenly around the treble. It's easier to do at this stage before it's fully seated. It looks pretty good to me, and I'm going to push it all the way on. That's it. It's as easy as that. no bobbins, no fly tying vise. You don't really need any special gear except some scissors. Now I'm going to trim that. It's a little bit long. If you leave it long, they tend to hit the dress treble and not get the hooks. So I trim it kind of short. I want it to look like a sunfish tail. Giving those split rings another look. I'm thinking about it here. I'm thinking about, do I need to replace these, or can I just use them as is? I'm also thinking about the orientation of the treble hook. I want it to seat nicely on the underside of the bait, and I don't want one tine of that treble hook digging into the bait. It's looking pretty good. Alright, I decided to go with Owner Hyperwire split rings, size 3, because they match the stock size the best. Those split rings were just, I don't know, they're just like rubber in my hands. I was opening them up just by putting the new treble hooks on. But these Owner split rings are good. They're strong. I'm going to try to get them on with a set of jeweler's pliers, just small needle nose pliers. But I've got a set of split ring pliers right next to me too. So if I have any trouble, I just grab those split ring pliers and open them up. Sometimes the belly gives me more trouble than the tail. The split ring pliers that I have are really for saltwater baits. So they're a little large for these split rings, but they will work. I just open them up with the split ring pliers. Those are Texas Tackle split ring pliers. I got them a long time ago. I just start them on the hook hanger, and then I switch back to those little small needle nose pliers. Put them on the rest of the way. Now you can save a little bit of time and put the treble on at the same time, but I find I lose less split rings if I do it this way. Once the split rings are on the bait, they're not going to shoot off across the room. There's a lot of different ways to accomplish the same thing, so do it however you like, whatever is the most effective for you. I'm just showing you how I do it. I'll put that red treble on the belly. I might need my split ring pliers again. We'll see. The VMC split rings, I was just, easily opening them up with my fingers and putting them on this way. But these Owner split rings, these are tough. And that's what you want. You don't want them to be opening up so easily. You want them to have some rigidity to them and strength. I got the belly hook on. Now we have to put the dressed treble. I want it to line up properly with the bait. I'm just spinning that hook around, trying to see what makes the most sense in terms of orientation, which hook points I want up, which I want down. Something like that. Use the split ring pliers to open up that split ring. Try to remember the orientation I decided on. Then use those small needle nose to get it on the rest of the way. And then check it, make sure it looks good. I like that. Yeah, that looks good. I like that light feathered treble in the back. To me, it looks a lot more like the Bluegill than what came stock in the package. Alright, I'm gathering up some extra Chartreuse crystal flash that didn't quite make it through the eye of that treble. And I'm going to mix it with UV Pearl crystal flash. About 50-50. With the Bluegill colored bait, it's a lighter bait than the green gill. I'm just trying to soften up that Chartreuse a little bit. But again, you can do whatever you want. You can go with bright Chartreuse, you could go with orange, you could do 50-50, you could do a couple strands of red crystal flash, you could do other materials, you could mix synthetic and natural materials, whatever you want. I like crystal flash because it's durable, dries fast, fish seem to like it, it's fairly inexpensive, lasts a long time, and I happen to have a lot of it on hand, so that's what I'm using. But you can go crazy, whatever you want. That's the real beauty of this, is that you can do it up however you want. Completely custom. I've seen some poppers in saltwater where people have this really long flowing marabou tail and it breathes in the water. So when you stop popping that bait, it still is moving, gets secondary action from the feathers. Some people swear by it. You know, for me, fishing in freshwater, the crystal flash seems to do a great job. I'm just trying to stack up all those individual fibers of crystal flash evenly and mix the chartreuse and pearl together. I've got a bunch of individual strands on my fly tying bench that I couldn't quite pick up with my fingers, so I'm trying to collect all of it into one big bunch. And I can mix those colors a little bit. I can try to keep them separate. You know, for me, I want to mix. I don't want a hard line there. I'm going to trim the end of the little bundle just to make it a little bit easier to get through the eye of the treble. And I'm going to make a tight little bundle, thread it through the eye of the treble. I know you can't see exactly what I'm doing because the camera is still pointed at the trash can. I'll just talk you through it. Alright, I'm back and the camera is no longer pointed at the bottom of the trash can, so you can actually see what I'm doing. But it's the same procedure as the last dress treble. I'm going to remove any errant fibers that didn't quite make it through the eye. And with the tygon tubing or surgical tubing or whatever kind of tubing you're using, when it's about halfway on, I like to spread out those fibers of crystal flash, try to get even coverage. And then when I'm happy with it, I'll push it all the way on. And just like before, I'm going to trim it. You can trim it any length you want. I like it fairly short. That helps to minimize short strikes, like I said before. And I got a nice blend of chartreuse and UV pearl crystal flash there. I think it looks pretty good. Kind of like the tail of a bluegill. Alright, same as before. We're going to get those 2 Owner Hyperwire split rings size 3 on the bait. Oh, I messed it up. That's alright. Just do it again. I don't find I have as good a grip with the split ring pliers as I do with the needle nose, the small needle nose pliers. That's why I'm switching back and forth. The split ring pliers are smooth. They don't have any teeth. And I don't feel like I have quite as good a grip. They have different sizes of these split ring pliers too. I have saltwater versions because you really need those for heavy duty saltwater split rings. And I just have never bothered to get a freshwater size. They work pretty well though. Again, I'm lining up the treble, make sure it's oriented properly, the way I want it. I might be able to get this one on with just my fingers. Yeah, that might work. Sometimes I can do it with the owner split rings. Sometimes I need the tools. But these split rings aren't opening up while I'm just manipulating them with my fingers. These are much better split rings. Now the belly treble, I think I'm going to need some tools here. Give it a try anyway. Nope. Back to the tools. Use that little tooth on the split ring pliers to open it up. Just get it started. Once it's started, I can use my little jeweler's pliers to finish the job. Make sure that that treble is going to tuck into the belly properly and not have one hook rubbing against it. And there they are. There's the finished product. Now the last step is to tie a loop knot on these baits. And I feel like that's where a lot of people go wrong. So we're going to spend just a couple minutes on that. I've got 12-pound CSX P-line. Pretty strong stuff. But watch what happens when I try to tie a loop knot with it. So I'm going to tie a slip knot. Put the tag end through the line tie and then back through the slip knot the way you came out. And I'm going to snug it down loosely to the eye. Not tight all the way, just loosely to the eye. And then I'm going to tie a 2-turn simple clinch to jam that slip knot. Again, loosely down to the eye. I'm going to wet it off camera. And then pull. And what you should get is a perfect little loop. But watch what happens. That loop just slides out. And this is why people don't like loop knots. Or one of the reasons. So, it very much depends on what kind of line you're using. I'm going to try a different P line. This is CX 20-pound now. The last one was CXX 12-pound. This is CX 20-pound. Same thing. Slip knot. Run the tag through the bait and then through the loop of the slip. Then I'm going to jam it with a 2-turn clinch. This is called a Homer Road loop knot, by the way. Loosely down to the eye, wet it. I'm going to pull to snug up that loop. Watch what happens. It slips right out again. That's brutal. I've also seen some lines like Trilene XT. Sometimes that'll actually break when I'm setting up the loop for the loop knot. P-line seems to slip right out, at least the two lines that I had handy. Now that's not the case with all knots and not the case with all lines. So I know, for example, if I get some Maxima Ultra Green, 15-pound Maxima Ultra Green I'm going to get a perfect small loop every time, and that knot is going to bite and not slip. So I think this is why a lot of people hate loop knots. If you're sponsored by P-Line or you just like fishing P-Line, whatever, it's pretty strong in a straight pull with different knots. But for whatever reason, maybe it's the coating they use, the material it's made out of, I don't know. But it slips right out. Now this is the same knot, Homer Road loop knot. I'm going to snug it down to the eye tie, wet it off camera, and pull. I'm pulling pretty hard now, and that knot doesn't slip at all. It bites and makes a perfect little loop every single time. And with that loop on the front, it walks beautifully, side to side, much better than with a snap or a split ring. You don't want any kind of weight on the nose. So Maxima Ultra Green is great, and so is Berkley Big Game. This is 12-pound Berkley Big Game. I've used 20-pound too. That was in one of my last videos. But 12-pound works great too. So the point of this loop knot exercise isn't to pick on P-Line. It's just to say you want to test those loop knots at home if you're using a new leader material or a new line, just to make sure they don't slip out. So same knot. It's a slip knot jammed with a 2-turn clinch. I'm going to snug it down to the eye. I'm going to wet it off camera. And I'm going to pull the main line. I'm pulling pretty hard too. If I pull much harder, I'm going to get one of those trebles in my hand. And you get a perfect small loop every time. And it doesn't slip out. Now I'm going to add a little micro drop of super glue before I fish this bait, just to make sure, double sure that knot never slips out. Rig like this, it really does walk like a dream. And it works best, like the name implies, near cover. Sometimes if I'm fishing over shallow water with some weeds underneath, I'll fish it in open water, but always near something. I don't just throw it in the middle of a lake in 50 feet of water. Alright, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll list all the gear in the video description, just like all my other videos. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!